Makosi. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. You're on the Naturally Dr. Tash YouTube channel, and welcome back to yet another episode of Life is Spiritual. All right, today we are reading the Bible. All right, so today's topic is about the 7 spirits of God. Sometimes they also call them the 7 kingdoms of God. And what we know in the Southern African context, it's Izithunywa or Izithunywa, right, as a collective. Izithunywa, Zika, Menzi. Reading from the book of Revelation. All right, and why this lesson? Because a lot of the time, you know, as African spiritual healers, right, we grapple with the fact of, you know, of this concept, right, of God, Mudimu, right, whatever you want to call it, right, this universal energy. And on the road to discovery, you're trying to sort of like find yourself, right, and how you fit into the Bible, right. And when you actually come to the realization, right, that this thing has always been of the African, right, it was just sort of repackaged, right, and thrown to us in a way, right, that suited the minority. That is why Bokogona Mkulu, our ancestors, right, don't really have problems with us reading the Bible, because what they're essentially trying to communicate is that this thing has always been theirs, right, but it was stolen, rebranded, repackaged, right, and sent back to us in a way that we do not understand. All right, so we're going to talk about Izithunywa, Zika, Menzi, which translates to 7 spirits of God, the 7 kingdoms of God, right, and how we can understand that using the African spiritual system, right. All right, so let's go to the book of Revelation. The title is called God and the Lamb in Heaven. All right, Revelations 4 verse 5. I am reading from the African Bible, all right, and it's in English. Né? It's chapter 4, right? So we can start from, let's start from verse 2. It says, remember, they're talking about the vision of heavenly worship. Apparently, right, what it looks like in this place called heaven, okay? It said, okay, at once I was caught up in spirit. A throne was there in heaven, and on this throne sat one whose appearance sparkled like jasper and carnelian. Around the throne was a halo, as brilliant as an emerald. Surrounding the throne, I saw 24 other thrones, and on which 24 elders sat, dressed in white garments and with gold crowns on their heads. For those of you that are dreaming of crowns in your dreams, you know what's up. From the throne came flashes of lightning, rumblings, and peals of thunder. 7 flaming torches burned in front of the throne, which are the 7 spirits of God. In front of the throne was something that resembled a sea of glass like crystal. In the center, around the throne, there were 4 living creatures, covered with eyes in front and in the back. The first creature resembled the lion. The second was the calf. The third had a face like that of a human being. And the fourth looked like an eagle in flight. The 4 living creatures, each of them with 6 wings, were covered with eyes, inside and out. Reading this book, the book of Revelations, right, what is very apparent is what we call God, the energy of God. It's not a single entity, right? The Bible says, right, there are 7 spirits of God. All right, so the godly energy is actually a collective of energies or spirits, because spirit is energy. So there is no God out there, right, with a fork and a white beard, single-handedly looking over the nation. No, all right, they are spirits of God. All right, which would make sense why in the book of Genesis, it clearly states to say that let's make man in our image. Our image. All right, so that means that they are more than one. The 7 spirits of God. We try to understand, you know, what is God? What is the energy of God? What's this energy? You know, some say it's the creator, some say no, the source of life, blah blah blah, right? It's got different names depending on where you go. right, throughout the world. All right, but one thing that we all understand is that, right, there is a godly energy, there is a source energy, there is a creator energy, whatever we call it or them. um right, is subjected to the individuals. This energy is an energy that has created itself. It's a self-existing energy which brought itself into existence. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed, right? It's self-existing. All right, so we can also look at it as God is light, and out of light, right, this energy created itself. So the godly energy has always been there. And when we go into the book of Genesis, right, we see things like, okay, let there be light. At first, there was nothing. It was dark, right? The only things that were existing were water and nothingness, right? And they said, let there be light. So out of this light, all right, God or the gods created, right, themselves. And when they created themselves, right, they could inhabit, right, any living thing or creature, right? Which is why when we would read in the book of Revelations, right, they talk about the seven spirits of God and how it was actually looking in heaven, right? And there were certain creatures, right, that were part of the seven spirits of God. All right, and these seven spirits of God is what we call Izithunywa, the ones who were sent, right, by God, by the source. So Izithunywa, guys, is a universal concept. I still say it's a universal concept. Izithunywa, guys, it's something that is deep. It is a universal concept. We are dealing with the universe, right? The moon, the stars, the earth, the water, the fire. All right, Izithunywa Zika Menzi. A lot of the people also describe Izithunywa as the seven chakras that are found right within the body. All right, but that is a topic for another day. I believe that these seven spirits of God, which created themselves, were self-existing, wanted to experience themselves, right? And so they formed what we know as the creatures, all right? Let there be light, right? Let there be man, let there be animals. They wanted to experience themselves. So therefore, out of themselves, not themselves created whatever it is that they created. Seven spirits of God. In the African spiritual context, all right, they are given Zulu names. First one is Ma, which means mother in English. The mother of all creations. A lot of people say God is actually a woman. Well, I don't blame them. All right, because the woman creates life. She is the caregiver. All right, she is the healer. Very much closely associated to the water energy. The water energy, right? Because in the beginning, there was nothing. There was just water, right? And it says the spirit of God hovered over the waters. So Ma is the closely associated to water, all right? Closely associated to water-like creatures, mammals, etc. All right, so for those of you that have heard tales about Mummy Water, which is the mother of the waters, this is probably where that concept, you know, would actually come from, right? So dreaming of dolphins, whales, mammal-like creatures, mermaids, right, comes from the concept of Ma. She is closely associated to the healer energy. Number two, right, we have Unomhoi. Unomhoi, all right, is the one that is responsible for cleansing of the nations, right? Cleansing of the world. Number three, we have Usodumo. Sodum, right, is responsible for the wealth and the recognition of the nation and the countries. All right, closely associated with the dragons and the python energy. The dragons and the pythons, guys, are not exclusive to Africa. You go out throughout Asia, there's many tales, right, about dragons. Go to China, right, and see some of their spiritual emblems, right? It's dragons, all right? And China is one of the most, you know, booming economies, all right? And we ask ourselves why. All right, so Usodum is the one that is responsible for the wealth, right, and the riches of nations. The four is Usomandla. Remember, we're talking about Izithunywa Zika Menzi, the seven spirits of God. Number four, Somandla. Somandla is the one that people would call upon, all right, to give them strength, right? Responsible for the strength of the nation. Number five is Umlenze Omunye. This is the one that protects, right? Is the one that shields. the nation and the people of the nation, all right, from harm. In spirituality, right, guys, they are gods of every single thing. They are gods, the gods of, right, the waters, the gods of the air, all right, even though we may not realize it, right, but they are gods, all right, of places, right. You can't just go to certain places and do whatever it is that you want, because those places are guarded. All right, so umlenze omunye, right, is the protector of nations. Number 6, this one is very well known. It is unomkhubulwane. It's one of the 7 spirits of God, all right. Izithunywa. Unomkhubulwane is the one that people would pray to, you know, when it came to the weather, all right. She's the one who controls the weather, the rains, all right, the sunshine. She's the one who controls nature, all right, the one responsible for the moon, all right, the sun, the stars. People would call upon her, right, if there were no rains, if there was drought, right, in the nation. People would most likely call unomkhubulwane. I've got my very own stories, right, when it actually comes to this. Throughout your spiritual journey, right, you learn that in actual fact, what is taking place, right, in the universe is very closely associated with you. People that study astrology, cosmology, all of that, they're not crazy for doing that, because those things are closely connected to the human. Right, what is going on inside of you is actually going on in the world around you. I'll never forget one day I was having a lucid dream, okay, let's just call it that. And in this lucid dream, all right, I saw the moon, right, and there was these voices inside my head that said moon, 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 right. And then I woke up and I asked myself, why the moon? You understand, why am I dreaming of the moon? When I woke up, guys, God forbid, that day it was a full moon. The universe was trying to tell me to connect to the full moon, all right, because there are certain things that you can do with the energy, all right, of the full moon. Nomkhubulwane would be the one, all right, that is responsible for that. It's a very feminine like energy, right. We should not take our connection to nature for granted, because we're actually interconnected, right, with the planets. We're interconnected with the stars. We're interconnected with the moon. We're interconnected with the energy of the sun. We are connected to the waters and nature. All right. These things are not just there because they are khabisa. They are there because we connect to them, and we connect to the elements, right, of this universe and the earth. The last spirit of God, they call umveli nqangi. Umveli nqangi. I think umveli nqangi ka Sesotho or ka Setswana is what we would call mudimu. Mudimu. Right. Mudimu, Badimu. We've always had this understanding. It isn't just one God energy, right? There might be an overseer, all right, but the godly energy is more like a council. It's more like a collective, right, of spirits, which is also what they describe in the Bible. Right. So number 7 is umveli nqangi, Mudimu, sonini nanini. Right. Some people would call this energy unkulunkulu or umkhulu wabumkhulu. Umveli nqangi, right, is the one that is able to take possession of all of the above. The shape shifter can shapeshift into all the duties and the functionalities. This is what I believe people are calling Inzunza. Inzunza, the shapeshifter. What people call Inzunza or Amanzunza, right? Which is a collection or a group of spirits of God. Inzunza is the one that gets to do all of the duties of the above, right, at a given point in time. Can be anything that it wants to be, to shape shift from one reality into the next. All right. Amanzunza, right, or the spirit of Inzunza, which is the spirit of God. Some people also describe this spirit as the bridge between the earthly and the waters, right? Because if you possess the spirit, you possess all of the spirits, the godly spirits of the waters, right? You possess all of the spirits, right, of the earthly, of the universe. You are connecting on a universe level. You are connecting on a dimensional level. The first and the last, the beginning and the end. Thank you for watching this video. I hope to see you in another episode of Life is Spiritual. Thokozani ebukhosini, khanya ndawo, shalom, ashe, namaste. Until next time, bye bye.